I'm going to start by asking you one relatively simple question. What does it take for us to really flourish? To be the best that we can be? To survive? No. To thrive? Yes. We need to have good memory, not just to remember who we are as an individual, but enable us to learn so that we can become different if we want to grow, if we want to develop. We need to have our health. We need to be able to make good decisions. We need to be creative. We need to be innovative. We need to solve problems. Whether that's at work, whether that's with our families, whether it's in building relationships, national, international level. These are all things that are fundamental to making us human and fundamental to enabling us to be better at whatever it is that we choose to focus on. Now, let me offer you the opportunity to take a drug. Taking this one drug might possibly add another day, another hour and a half to your day, possibly. But the disadvantages, the side effects of this drug are your memory becomes poorer. You make poorer quality decisions. You can't regulate your mood anymore. You cry more. You anger more quickly. You make poor problem-solving decisions. Your communication skills fall down. Would you take this drug? An hour more time a day? An hour more time a day to be worse at communication skills, to be worse at decision-making, to be worse at problem-solving? Probably not. The benefits aren't that great. Now let's try a different type of drug. Wine. So, in the name of science, obviously, just bear with me. Okay. Is it okay? Let's go for a second. How uncomfortable does that make you feel? It makes me feel quite uncomfortable. How likely is it now that, given what you've seen, you're going to let me drive your children to school or operate on a loved one or drive a truck delivering bread to the supermarket or teach your children or lead your team at work? If we think about the wake-up call here, what does it take to flourish? Would you take that drug? Would you drink that wine? Of course, the point is you wouldn't. So what if I said to you that not getting enough sleep a night, not getting an hour to an hour and a half sleep a night than you need, has the same effect as that drug? It reduces your ability to learn, your memory, your decision-making, your communication skills, your physical health, your mental health. What if I said that 17 hours of wakefulness, just a long day, is the equivalent on your behavior, your alertness, as reading a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. In context, that is the equivalent of being over the limit with alcohol in 98 countries around the world. How often do we get behind the wheel of a car? How often are we at work? How often are we interacting with our loved ones, behaving like that? If we want to flourish, we need to think about things differently. And of course, for those of you who are slightly worried, I should say that wasn't red wine, that was blackcurrant juice. About 15 years ago, I started working in the field of sleep, and myself and a colleague were looking at the impact of poor sleep in a young offender institution, in individuals who are very vulnerable, and looking at the relationship between poor sleep and anger, hostility, and aggression. And now, for a living, I do the similar kind of thing, but with business leaders around the world. But this isn't just about vulnerable adults, vulnerable children, or business leaders. It's about you, and it's about me. It's about human-to-human connection. Poor sleep is endemic across the world. And we know so much now about the impact of it. We can't deny that we don't know how it affects us. So how does it affect us? Let me give you a couple of examples. Poor sleep, so for example, sleeping less than 6 hours a night, increases, according to research, increases your risk of mortality by 13%. Let me say that again. At any point in time, if you are consistently sleeping for less than 6 hours a night, your risk of dying increases by 13%. For those of you feeling a little smug, such as myself, because I might get a little more than 6 hours, then 7 hours a night, less than 7 hours, between 6 and 7 hours, it still increases your mortality risk by 7%. You're 3 to 4 times more likely to get cold and flu. You're more likely to get some types of cancer, particularly during shift work, if you do shift work for long periods of time. It reduces job satisfaction. It increases presenteeism and absenteeism. It increases workplace accidents. It increases cardiovascular disease. One night of poor sleep and your systolic blood pressure can increase. You can see then, if this continues time over time over time over time, how that relates to cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes. But we know this. We see this in the media, in the press, on TV. There are books out there. So why don't we do something about it? Why aren't we making those changes? What is that cost? A piece of research in 2016 found that the economic cost of poor sleep was £36 billion a year to the UK economy. For individuals of working age in the UK, if they're not sleeping between 7 to 9 hours a night, it is costing the UK economy £36 billion. If you don't care about your own physical health or mental health or cognitive functioning or your ability to interact with others, this is the financial cost. And let's put this in some context, because 36 billion, what does that actually mean? In 2012, the University of Oxford did a piece of research, and they found that the cost of cancer to the UK in that year was about 15.8 billion. And in 2014, the Alzheimer's Society published a piece of research that said that the cost of Alzheimer's disease was around about 26 billion. Very serious issues, very serious diseases that have rightly lots of support, lots of media behind them, as well as a huge amount of research. And yet we are saying, according to the 2016 research, that the cost of poor sleep is nearly the same as both of these two together. How many times do you turn the TV on and see an advert for sleeping more? Probably not that often, if ever. So what's going on? Why aren't we doing anything about it? Well, the reason, I think, is something that I've called the Makia effect. It's very simple. Makia is a word that the Trobriand Islands use, and it's a word that is very simple. It means the truth that everybody knows and nobody is talking about. And I think this is absolutely the issue with poor sleep. We all sleep, or don't, so we all know how we feel the next morning. We all know how it really affects us, whether we like to deny it and push on through, but we do have insight into this. And so why aren't we doing something about it? At an individual level, at an organisational level, and also at a national and international level? Why aren't we taking this seriously? To be fair, if we're not taking it seriously, then surely leaders should take this seriously, you'd think. So, in 2011, at the height of the Euro crisis, President Sarkozy made these two statements. He said, "Never has the risk of disintegration been greater for Europe." And he also said, "Never before has Europe been so necessary, never has it been in so much danger." And this was said on the 9th of December 2011. This was the date when world leaders focusing on Europe, so all of those European leaders came together to talk about the future of the euro and the future of Europe. Such was the importance of that one meeting that on the day that they met, The Dow Jones in the US, so this isn't even European, the Dow Jones in the US and the French and the Italian markets all closed down. Such was the importance of this meeting. So we have the European leaders in a room deciding on the future of Europe. Did they do that after breakfast? No. Did they do it after lunch? No. They started after dinner, and they continued throughout the night. Are they superhuman and not affected by sleep? Of course not. Do they practice some kind of strange behaviors that makes them much more resilient? Probably not. The fact is, you, I, they are all suffering from the Makia effect. We know this stuff, we know the effects, and yet for some reason we aren't doing anything about it. But don't get me wrong, this isn't about leadership. This isn't about those people at the top of organisation or the top of countries. This is about all of us together. Our own research has shown that individuals all across levels in the organisation are as likely, if not more so, to report the effect of poor sleep. Individuals, whatever they're doing, are equally affected. This isn't something we can just pass to leaders. This is something that's my responsibility and your responsibility. And it is something that we can do something about. That's the important point. We don't need to make massive changes to the world here. We don't need to invest huge amounts of money. We don't need to invent new technology. All we need to do is sleep for 1 hour more each night. So what will it take for us to wake up? How many more Challenger disasters, Chernobyl disasters, 3 Mile Island, or Exxon Valdez oil spills does it take? All of those human and environmental catastrophes that have been shown explicitly or implicitly to be put down to poor decisions as a result of poor sleep. How many more accidents and deaths do we need for people driving home after shift work for it to be taken seriously? How many more increases in mortality do we need before we take this seriously? So I'm going to ask you all of us today, to do one simple thing. Take this as our wake-up call. Take this as an opportunity to think about how much sleep do you actually need a night. It may be 7 hours, it may be 7.5, it may be 8, may possibly be 10 if you're lucky. But each individual is, by its nature, individual. The first thing I challenge us all to do is to work out how much you need. And then the second thing is make one small change. Just one small change. Stop using technology in the bedroom. Don't have alcohol or caffeine late at night. Choose when you exercise, not too close to bed. Use a blackout blind or an eye mask or earplugs. Go to bed just half an hour earlier a night. One small change is all it takes. If every single healthy working-age adult in the UK made that one small change, got the right amount of sleep they need, not only will we save the UK economy £36 billion a year, but it will enable each and every one of us to truly flourish.